So if you keep your recording in progress, keep your cameras turned off while I talk, please. Safety audit process. Some of you have done this before. Some, I guess, probably haven't been involved. It's an annual activity, and it's a process whereby British Rowing satisfies itself that affiliated clubs have the required documents and processes in place to manage their rowing or other activities safely. So it's checking that the documents that were submitted when the club was affiliated are still up to date and are in order. So the process briefly is that you and your club should have been sent a link with a lot of details, a link to a questionnaire to be filled in, and also a link to a page on a Google Drive or a file in a Google Drive where you could upload documents. So let's just talk about the documents first of all. There are three documents that I expect to see on that folder in the Google Drive as a minimum. First off is a club safety policy. Now this is described in RowSafe, in one of the early sections of RowSafe, and there is in fact a template safety policy there. So that I think is the default. Unless you've got something that is bespoke to your club or your institution, then use the template that is in RowSafe. Fill in the name of the club and the date, sign it, and then upload that to the Google Drive to your folder. And what you should do, the folder you'll get will be for your club. If you add to that a 2025 folder, and then you can put all the documents in there and I know where to find them then. So that's the safety policy. Second document I need to see is the club risk assessment, which describes the risks that are specific to the activities that you carry out in the environment in which you carry it out. So there may well be things that are specific to the bit of stretch of river on which you row that are not the same for other clubs rowing on different stretches of river. So for the risk assessment, hopefully as club rowing safety advisors, you've done the online risk assessment module. If you haven't, I strongly recommend that you do. But the process is you identify activities or risks that there are, dangers, hazardous events that could happen. And then you look at barriers that you can put in place to reduce the likelihood of that event happening, and then controls that you can put in place to reduce the severity of the event happening. Reduce the severity of the injury or the impact if the event does occur. So as an example, if you identified that there's a risk, say, of boats capsizing in very windy weather, then one of the barriers that you could put in place to that is say, well, when it's very windy, we won't go out rowing, in which case no chance of capsizing, or we will row on a sheltered stretch of the river, or we won't go out in singles or doubles, we'll go out in quads or eights, which are less likely to capsize. So those will be barriers that you'll put in place that reduces the likelihood of a capsize and someone ending up in the water. And then you might say, well, we'll also have a launch on the water when we go out, so that if something does happen, then we can rescue people, get them into the launch, get them back to dry land. And that is a control because that reduces the severity of the event. So rather than having people floating in the water, getting cold and potentially drowning, you've reduced that severity by getting them out of the water and getting them to a place of safety. So for each of your sort of hazardous events that you identify, then you need to think about what barriers you can put in place to reduce the likelihood of that event happening, and what controls you can put in place that will reduce the severity of that event if it does happen. And then once you identify those barriers or controls, then you produce a club safety plan, I would prefer if it was called a club safety management plan, which sets out how you're going to um, put those barriers and controls in place, how you're going to manage safety generally, how you're going to make sure those barriers and controls are maintained. So just to go back to the example that we gave of, or I gave of the risk of capsize and your barriers, that you might not go out in certain conditions, or you would only row in big boats rather than small boats if it was very windy. Then in your safety management plan, you would say, well, we will formulate rules for members as which boats can go out in which conditions. And those rules will be formulated by committee, safety officer, captain, whoever, and they will be reviewed on a 6-monthly annual. I wouldn't really want them more than an annual basis, but just says a bit about how you're going to do it and what the review process is. And then if, same example, if the control was you were going to have a launch, then what sort of launch you're going to have, who's going to be allowed to drive it, what competence and training do people require in order to drive it, where are you going to keep the fuel, how are you going to keep it safe, how are you going to keep the launch maintained. So all those sorts of things are encompassed then in the safety plan, which is why I would prefer that it was called a safety management plan, because it's really a plan of how you are going to manage safety within your club. And another way to think of it is if there was some global pandemic, perish the thought, and or the existing committee of your rowing club was incapacitated, how would a new rowing club know how things were going to be organised? Well, they'd go to this club safety management plan and they would say, oh, right, okay, yes, we've got safety rules in place, okay, and this is how we're going to manage the launches, yes, and it's all there. So it's a way of formulating that, and it's a way of providing some sort of continuity. So those are the 3 documents that I want to see: club safety policy, club risk assessment, and club safety plan, or as I would prefer it, safety management plan. And I'm looking for continuous improvement in this whole safety audit process. So just because a document was accepted by me last year doesn't mean it'll necessarily be accepted unchanged this year. I'd like you to look at it and see how you can improve it and make it more effective. I know some clubs, if they're co-located with another club, uses that other club's safety documents. And if that is the case, then initially if you use another club's documents, don't initially upload them, because wait till that other club has had their documents accepted, and then you've got the final up-to-date version that you can upload. But just for avoidance of doubt, the club safety policy is specific to your club. You do not use another club's club safety policy. It has to have your club's name on it. Okay, so those are the documents, and you should all have a link to your club's page on the Google Drive. If you have any problems with that, let me know and I can refer you to someone in British Rowing who will be able to help. The other thing you've received is a link to a questionnaire, and I'm now going to see whether I can share my screen, and we'll just go through the questionnaire very quickly. Share screen. Okay, desktop. So you should now be able to see this document, the safety audit questions. Could someone just give me a thumbs up if you can see it? Okay, or shout up if you can't see it. So the first bit, introduction, talks about uploading the safety documents. So these are the documents that I've talked about: the club safety plan, sorry, club safety policy, club risk assessment, club safety plan, and I'm assuming that will also incorporate the emergency response plan. The two can be separate, but usually clubs combine them into one. So when I say safety plan, that incorporates the emergency response plan. Okay, so then to start the questionnaire, you have to confirm that you've uploaded the relevant documents. Going back to what I said is if you use the documents of another club, click that anyway, because that then allows you to proceed with the questionnaire. And I will see that I'll be able to see what you've uploaded, and I will know that you're waiting for the other club's document to be accepted before you upload it. Anyway, if you've got any questions about that, then let me know. Question 2, how do you commit to implement the advice in RowSafe? Up to you how you answer that. One possible answer could be, well, it's stated in the club safety policy that we're going to follow the advice in RowSafe. So you might want to write that in there as an answer to that. Have you used the standard BRIAR safety policy? Yes, no. It's a yes, no question. There's no other, but it is easier if you use the template policy that's in RowSafe. Do you agree to abide by RowSafe? Yes, no. Answer as you see fit. I will react according to whatever it is you answer. Then it's the general admin stuff. So club name, who's filling it in, position, email address. Question 9, is your club a non-rowing club? I think for most clubs, this is a double negative. So no, it is not a non-rowing club, i.e. you row. So answer no to that, and that will determine the questions you then get to see in the questionnaire. So if you say, oh yes, we're a non-rowing club, then you won't get asked any of the questions about on-water activities, and you won't have your audit accepted. So answer no for that, unless you are only a club that operates in a gym with ergos. This is the bit about operating under the safety plan, safety rules, and rowing safety advisor, another host club. This is not, the wording here isn't quite right, because you don't operate under the rowing safety advisor on another club. Each affiliated club has its own rowing safety advisor, but you may operate under the safety plan or the safety rules of another club. So go through that, fill those in. If you've got any questions, come to me and I'll go through that with you. So that's question 10 to 14. Some more admin, name of your club rowing safety advisor, details. Is your club's rowing safety advisor information listed on ClubHub? If it is not listed on ClubHub, and your secretary should have the admin permissions to update ClubHub. If it is not listed on ClubHub, then you won't get safety updates. You won't get notifications of incident reports that are filed relating to your club. So you do need to make sure as a club rowing safety advisor that your details are on ClubHub. Next one is about the advanced risk assessment training, the online module, which I referred to earlier, and strongly recommend that you complete that. If you have a deputy club rowing safety advisor, again, fill in those details. And then some questions about details. These questions do vary from year to year, so we don't always ask the same questions. So don't expect to answer exactly the same questions as you answered last year. But this one is about inducting new members. How do you make them aware of your club safety policy, safety rules? And there's some tick boxes there. And if you want to fill in any more details, then use the box. This is a new question. This is to get you thinking about who else uses the water on which you row. And we've listed down there a good number of different water users. I don't suppose there are many locations where all of these are relevant, but I bet just about every location there's at least one of these other water users is using the same water as you. So this is to get you thinking about who else is using your water. And there's another there if we've forgotten anything. And then this is the important bit. How do you liaise with other water users on safety matters? Okay, so just think about how you communicate with other people who use the same water as you do. If there's a sailing club there, do you talk to the sailing club? If there's open water swimmers, do you have any way of talking to them, etc., etc.? Question about defibrillators. We're very interested to know where defibrillators are relative to rowing clubs because defibrillators do save lives and have been proven to save lives in a rowing situation. So it would be good if every club had a defibrillator available, but nevertheless, fill in where the nearest defib is. Next bit is about incident reporting. This is incident reporting on the BR incident reporting system. So this is how many reports. And just stress here that incident reporting is a good thing. Every club has incidents of varying degrees, from near misses to more serious incidents. And by reporting them and sharing the details in a risk-free, non-blame environment, there's the opportunity to learn and implement best practice. So putting incident reports in is a good thing. So if you can go back through your club records, how many reports have been submitted, and then a bit of information about incident types. I'm more interested in the next question. So from your incident reports, what are the club's 3 areas of greatest concern? I can probably tell you what they are, but I won't. I want you to look back through your reports. What are the 3 themes with the highest incidents in your reporting? What are the 3 things you're most worried about? And then, just as importantly, what have you done to address them? Okay. Now, if you answer this question last year, hopefully some of your concerns last year are now no longer concerns, and you've got other concerns because you put measures in place and those have reduced those incidents. So again, don't just repeat what was said last year. Question about life jackets. How do you ensure they're maintained in a safe condition? How do you record that life jackets have been maintained? Do you keep a file? Do you keep a spreadsheet? How does someone walking into your club know that a life jacket is in date and has been maintained? How do you manage and assess the competence of coxes and steerspersons? How do you ensure members' competence and confidence in the water? And again, there's a reference all the way through. There's references to the relevant section within RowSafe. Competence of launch drivers. Again, here, if you put anything like local assessment or proven experience, then I would want to see something in your club safety plan that spelled out how that assessment and how that experience was judged and demonstrated and monitored. If you're a rowing club, you may not get this question about rowing machines and gym equipment. Conversely, if you're a non-rowing club, you won't get this question about boats and blades. So this is why it's important that you fill in that question about are you a non-rowing club correctly. So I think for everyone on this call, the answer is no, you are not a non-rowing club, you are a rowing club. Bit about water quality. What information do you have? What do you do about how do you react to poor water quality? Antisocial behaviour. This has been a theme across clubs in the last year, unfortunately. How do you keep your members safe in instances of antisocial behaviour? And then a lot of questions about weirs, sluices, anything like that, where there's a risk of a boat being swept over a weir or some sort of drop. A weir, a sluice, a spillway, an outlet. There have been a couple of fatalities in the last couple of years associated with weirs, so this is a high-profile topic. Probably doesn't affect many people, but if it does, then you need to think about some of these issues here in the questionnaire. So that's all about weirs. Signs. hazards. Right. And then this is the last question, 44. Please use the box below to input information. So if there's anything you want to add there, then do. What I would like to see in there is details of some safety initiative that your club has taken within the last year to improve safety for your members. So please don't leave that box blank. Share some safety best practice with the rest of the region. Okay, so that's the questionnaire. I've talked about the documents. The only other thing I wanted to say was in that email that you were sent with the links to the documents and the questionnaire, there was also the timeline for filling in and returning the audit and the audit documents. I think it's 18th or 19th of November is the deadline. And then a period after that, there's a grace period to give me time to review and accept submissions. But eventually, they reach the point that if your safety audit has not been accepted, then you are suspended from BROE, and then you can't enter competitions until your safety audit has been accepted. So just be mindful of the deadline. Provided you get a reasonable submission to me by the deadline date, then I won't ask for you to be suspended from BROE. But if you don't meet the deadline, or what you submit is way below what would be acceptable, then that would be a different story. But I don't think that's going to be an issue. I'm sure that everyone is going to provide documents that are capable of being accepted. So that is all I wanted to say. I'm quite happy to take questions. Probably the way to do this is if you raise your hand, and then I'll go around the screen. I'll ask you to unmute. You can ask a question, and I will try and answer it. So over to you. If you've got a question, put your hand up. I don't see any hands being raised. I'd be surprised if my presentation was so comprehensive that no one's got any questions, but if that is the case, then that is the case. And I've just got a message to say that we've got 10 minutes left. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.